Hello, I3 scholars and everyone else watching. I'm Connor.
I'm Kennedy. I'm Lauren.
I'm Emily.
We will start with the scientific theories the scientists have come up with on how the universe started. Now, the most common hypothesis between scientists is about 3.5 billion years ago, a complex, violent chemical reactions took place in the Earth's atmosphere. This formed single-celled organisms like bacteria.
Since the beginning of time, humans have tried to classify species. The ancient Greek philosopher Aristotle once tried to classify species by whether they swam, walked, or flew. Classifying organisms is necessary in order to determine evolutionary relationships. Organisms fit into certain categories. If organisms share a category, like family for example, they likely share relations in ancestry. Taxonomy is a field of biology that deals with classifying organisms. There are 8 levels of classification in taxonomy. From the most broad to most specific, the categories are domain, which is the broadest, kingdom, which is the next step down, phylum, class, order, family, genus, and species. A species contains only one type of organism. Each organism can be classified into 3 domains.
The basic trend of evolution in hominids is because of different needs of hominids during the change of the year. The changes in the environment is a big factor in evolution of hominids because they have to adapt in order to survive the environment at that time. One of the oldest fossils of hominids is A. afarensis, named Lucy. She was found by Donald Johnson in 1974. They think she was a biped because they found footprints near her fossil remains that were roughly the same size as she would have made. She was also about 1 meter tall, and she had a cranial capacity of 400 cubic centimeters. She is a very important fossil because she is one of the only complete sets of fossils during that time. That set of fossils was from about 3.5 million years ago. 2 other Australopithecus species were found. A. africanus had human-like hands, walked upright, and had cranial capacity of 500 cubic centimeters. It lived about 2.1 to 2.7 million years ago. Australopithecus robustus lived from about 1.4 to 2.1 million years ago. It was given the name robustus because it had a heavier bone structure than Africanus.
Evolution is the mechanics of how organisms changed from their ancestors. This can be changed from genetic drift and gene flow. I will be talking about genetic drifts just a little bit down the road of this little documentary of ours. But now, let's talk about gene flow just a little bit. Great example of gene flow is in America. America has about 40.4 million immigrants residents in the United States in 2011. Take the Irish potato famine that caused over half of Ireland's population to immigrate to places, most being America. This is like this with many cultures. This is why you see many different cultures and ethnic groups in America. While there is no true American, we all have ancestors that immigrated to this country, and there are people still coming to America.
Homo habilis, which means handyman, this hominid was found about 2 million years ago, about the same time as A. robustus. But there are differences between H. habilis has a smaller brow ridge and much larger cranial capacity, 650 cubic centimeters, which is about half of the modern-day human. Next to Homo erectus appears about 1.6 million to 200,000 years ago, which suggests that they had a form of language. Today humans belong to a species called Homo sapiens. This term means wise humans. Some scientists think that H. sapiens come directly from H. erectus back 200,000 to 100,000 years ago. Others think that Homo sapiens descended from Erectus via Homo neanderthals, a species commonly called Neanderthals.
Variation, the physical traits of a species will vary somewhat. Some of these variations are inheritable traits. Overproduction, animals and plants have tremendous reproductive potential, yet most offspring are lost to predators, disease, or other factors. Decent with modification, the amount of space, food, and other resources in nature is finite. Adaptation, this is the main thing behind natural selection. The environment is not selecting organisms. Any physical or behavioral trait that improves an organism's chances for survival and reproduction. Charles Darwin formulated his theory of evolution without reference to the fossil record. The fossil record does allow scientists to see just how evolution really did happen. They can place fossils in sequence so that they can see the progression over time from earlier species to much later ones. Comparative anatomy and embryology make the connection between different types of species more evident. For instance, very young mammal embryos have a period when they have gill-like structures similar to fish. Different species have very similar anatomy of bones and other structures. The more closely related they are, more likely these bones are likely to be very similar. Biography provides evidence of evolution because related species occur in now widely separated areas that were connected millions of years ago. Think of the ancient continent of the theory of evolution is supported by molecular biology and that cells are constantly dividing.
Go. Read the thing.
Teeth, then H.
Since we I just said okay. And Eukarya has 4 different kingdoms, and this is moving. This is American Idol.
Da-da-da-da-da-da.